Welcome back to LEGO Wars and Heat K of Series 6. Last time out, the scripts, the kitchen sink and pretty much anything else we could find was thrown out the window as Pegasus and Petunia fell apart, granting Polymorph of all bots 11 points to the bracket position. This week, it's the turn of Moss and Bailey bot Hospitaler to take the arena after their upset run last series took them to the top 8. They line up alongside the inaugural series champs Panic Attack, hoping to regain their lost glory. Let's see who else will join them tonight.
First, from Glasgow and seeded number 8, Hospitaler.
Despite the best efforts of Evri, Hospitaler has made it to recording as they look to escape the need for a play-in win for the first time since Series 3.
From Cambram and seeded number 21, Panic Attack.
As it's Series 6, Panic Attack has donned the gold top like its heavyweight counterpart as it looks to break the cycle that stopped it from finishing in the top 2 in recent years.
From Denver, Colorado, Copperhead.
It may not look like it, but this is the third complete rebuild Copperhead has had as it clambers for more consistency in the arena.
From Bristol, Antithesis.
The latest basal rep to hit the arena has some solid pedigree to emulate, but has looked promising in testing, so we'll see what they can deliver tonight.
From Megalovania.
The oldest vert still running into competition has again changed frame in the off-season, harkening back to something similar to their original design as they target a third bracket appearance in 5 years. Let's begin the action tonight with the tardy Hospitaler kicking off their campaign against New Boys Antithesis.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
Off we go then for LEGO Wars Heat K of Series 6, and we start our heat with the 8th seed Hospitaler, of course returning from a career best finish last time around, a top 8 berth for them in their best ever performance in LEGO Wars, like I said, losing out there to eventual top 4 places Ganymede. And they're taking on newcomers to LEGO Wars in Antithesis, or Antithesis, whichever you prefer. Antithesis with the big crushing arm on the top and the self-writer on the back. Be interested to see how they get on here against a fairly well-favoured machine in Hospitaler, and so far it's been a good start for the rookies. They've got a good grapple hold there on Hospitaler. Hospitaler trying to get round to the sides maybe of Antithesis, but Antithesis so low to the ground at the front. That crusher comes into play once again, trying to grab a hold of the wheels there of Hospitaler. Hospitaler gets to the centre of the arena, doesn't really know what to do at this point. That ground game at the front of Antithesis could really put it among some of the best in the field. It really could. Antithesis now brings the crushing arm down once again onto the lifter of Hospitaler. Hospitaler brings the lifter back up in response, but I think Antithesis here is in the ascendancy. The rookies doing pretty well thus far, although they are overbalancing slightly. And part of their wedge setup has been broken now on Antithesis. Hospitaler sits in the arena centre, holding onto Antithesis. The wheel spinning on Antithesis. Can they get away from there? Gets away now. The Shremek comes into play. They're trying to prize Hospitaler off. Hospitaler now stops in the arena. Maybe a little bit of thermal cutout there for the seeded machine. The 8th seeds for LEGO Wars Series 6, of course. Like I said, their highest ever finish last time around. Can they replicate anything near that this time around? Well, so far, on the evidence of this, you'd say probably not. Although I will say, doing a decent job of keeping competitive here. The wedge at the front of Antithesis now is gone. It's bent upright, you see. It's kind of facing towards the claw. That does limit the effectiveness of Antithesis massively. Not having that ground game support at the front for the crushing arm will obviously affect them. Hospitaler need to get back into the action to score some points, though they've not really used their weapon to any great effect here. They are pinning Antithesis against the arena wall, though. Antithesis tries to escape the clutches of Hospitaler. This is their 4th LEGO Wars, I believe. And can they continue to improve on their ranking and positioning this time around? Well, like I said, not on the evidence of this thus far, you'd have to say. Antithesis has started very, very well, and their career in LEGO Wars could be a pretty good one if they can keep this kind of pressure and momentum up. We're going to go to time between these two. The seeded machine has flattered to deceive a little bit. It's a strong rookie performance for the Crusher Antithesis. We go to time between these two.
6.
The judges will have to decide at our first fight of the heat. Oh, finally going to lift off Hospitaler. About time. Certainly wasn't a classic between these two, and it won't go down as an all-timer, but a decent first showing, I thought, for Antithesis. The rookies, they were able to grab a hold of Hospitaller on a number of occasions and were able to put them into spots of bother, despite losing some effectiveness of their weapon setup with the wedge being broken. Hospitaller had their moments as well. They were able to use their lifter as a sort of clamp for a little bit, but didn't really get any good lifts off, and I felt that Antithesis was the stronger robot throughout the fight.
And the winner, by unanimous decision, is Antithesis. A strong showing from the new boys Antithesis to start the night as we move on to Fight 2 between Panic Attack and Copperhead.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
All rise then for the former champions Panic Attack, the original LEGO Wars champions, all the way back in Series 1. Now, of course, decked out in gold pieces on the top, as well as all Panic Attack should be in 6th series of competitions. The new forks weren't at their best, we felt, in International and in All-Stars, but you can never rule Panic Attack out. It is an older machine nowadays, but they still have capability, in my opinion, of causing upsets and causing frustration for even the very best competitors in LEGO Wars, even this far down the line, and they are doing a good job at the moment of keeping Copperhead at bay, lifting Copperhead at the front there. Copperhead in their 2nd series of LEGO Wars last time around. They didn't have a great time of things. They did okay. They got into the play-ins, but they lost out to Cow Tools on that occasion. Complete rebuild on Copperhead as well. Copperhead tries to get to the front of Panic Attack and bring that drum into play, but the drum isn't spinning at the moment, certainly not as quick as they would like it to. They're trying to bring it into bear, but what else does Copperhead really have once that drum goes down? Now we're starting to see it cycle through the motions. Panic Attack, though, with a great lift once again, though, on Copperhead. Panic Attack in the ascendancy here. Experience and driving skill being shown by the number 21 seed Panic Attack this time around. Of course, last time around in LEGO Wars, they were knocked out during the play-ins, given a seed, of course, on historical achievements. They have lost part of their forklift setup. They won't mind that too much. These forks are a lot more susceptible to breaking than the old ones were, but better for getting in underneath opponents like that and levering Copperhead into the air and carry Copperhead around the arena. That's their tactic. Try and drag them towards the pit, maybe. Copperhead, have they lost a wheel? No, they're still good, they're still going, but Panic Attack once again aggressive in the face of Copperhead and using those forks to kind of upset the unseeded machine. Copperhead, their 2nd series of LEGO Wars, they'll be hoping to progress a little further than they did last time around. Can they bring that drum into play in order to make it happen? Panic Attack, we've not really seen the armour tested here on Panic Attack by Copperhead. Good driving again by Panic Attack. Trying to stay out of trouble from that drum. And at the moment, you have to say, they've done pretty well at that throughout this fight. And can they get a knockout win to start things off? Panic Attack nudging Copperhead towards the pit. Copperhead stuck next to the pit. Can they get away from there? Panic Attack showing great driving skill as always, but can they get Copperhead down the pit now? Copperhead is now stuck in the short corner. But time is ticking away and it will save them from being counted out by not moving. It's up to Panic Attack to pit them from here to get the 3 points. They're not going to do it. It goes to time between Copperhead and Panic Attack. And again, it wasn't a classic. I don't envy the judges for that one. While Copperhead holding on for that 1 point might prove crucial later on. This was the only real moment we saw Copperhead have a clear opportunity of getting some damage on Panic Attack. But Panic Attack throughout, I felt, was in control, using their forks as we know them to do. They are brilliant at just kind of upsetting the opponents, and they did that to great aplomb in this fight. Okay, they took a little bit of damage. They are a little bit more sensitive, these forks, than the old ones, but I think a masterclass from the former champions, Panic Attack.
And the winner, by unanimous decision, is Panic Attack. A less frantic fight from the 21st seeds, but it takes them joint top, albeit briefly, as Hosp returns to action against the latest version of Megalovania.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
Off we go then for the final robot to be introduced tonight is Megalovania with the enormous bar spinner in the middle. Their best finish in LEGO Wars is a top 16 berth in LEGO Wars Series 3. Last time around, didn't get that far, of course, but they are a lot more conventional than they were last series. Of course, it was kind of like the weird uppercut design last series, wasn't it? But they lost out in the surprise three-way play-in, if you remember back with Brick Astley and Flashover Delta. On that occasion, they lost that fight and didn't go any further in the heat as a result. Hospitaller, the 8th seeds, recovering from a loss in the first fight against Rookie's Antithesis. Hospitaller, though, stuck at the moment on one of its own forks at the front. You can see it's high-centered there, and Hospitaller here in control of the fight, and Hospitaller maybe should just bank the points and get on with it. They're trying to free Megalovania, but now both forks are stuck in underneath Megalovania, and Megalovania really struggling to translate here. They always come back with a different design, Megalovania. It's a cool thing to see. They always try something different, but on this occasion here, Megalovania in real trouble now! They've been caught napping down the pit. Hospitaller gets 3 well-earned points. I think the pace of the fight was dictated very, very early on from basically the first or second impact here, where Hospitaller was able to get Megalovania's fork caught underneath it, and that really prevented any momentum for the big blue spinner. They weren't really able to get out of that predicament from there on in. It was only a matter of time before this happened. Hospitaller activated the pits, and down it went.
The old vert gets caught napping and dumps down the pit to move Hosp into first place. Let's see if we get another KO now as Antithesis faces Copperhead.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
Off we go then for fight number 4, Copperhead and Antithesis. Antithesis, of course, coming off a very, very decent victory in its first fight against Hospitaller, and a good push immediately there on Copperhead. Copperhead trying to get round to the sides and get that drum into play as soon as they can do, but not really able to get away from the clutches of Antithesis here with the big crusher on the top. Copperhead retreats, tries to get that drum up to speed, but again, struggling to get through the gears here, Copperhead. They have been completely rebuilt from last series, but thus far, we've not really seen the fruits of the Copperhead labours, have we? Because so far, Antithesis is in complete control here, has got a great crush on the drum there of Copperhead. Antithesis retreats and gets back to the rear of the arena quite nicely, trying to get that little scoop or wedge in underneath the drum at the front now and try and capitalise on that. Copperhead stuck once again by the screws, gets away now. There's the little self-righter, and there up comes the crushing arm of Antithesis. Antithesis, so I'm told, apparently was built in a day for this competition. Kind of a last-minute entry into LEGO Wars Series 6. Thus far, they've done a pretty good job of the opportunity, although they have just driven straight onto the arena spikes. And what are they doing? Get away from there, Antithesis. Back into the fray against Copperhead, although Copperhead really struggling, I think, to get any sort of momentum in this fight. And so far, I'd have to say, even in this heat, they were in the play-ins last time around, Copperhead, but they're going to struggle to get there this time around if their performance is anything like this for the remainder of the heat. Antithesis, though, the opposite can be said of them. They're in a great position at the moment. That crushing arm comes down into play. They're struggling to push Copperhead around, I will say that much, but I don't think they really care too much because they have absolutely done a number here on Copperhead, because Copperhead is really struggling to get any sort of full momentum in this fight, and that drum is, well, it's just not playing ball, is it? It's not happening. And at the moment, Antithesis really is in the ascendancy. Back on the attack again, round to the side of Copperhead this time, gets Copperhead stuck on the arena wall. Copperhead sits for a moment. A little bit of shock perhaps for Copperhead. Gets away now. Drum is now up to speed, but Antithesis once again is pressurising and causing pain for Copperhead. Copperhead needs to do something, and quickly here. That drum needs to come into play and do a number on their opponent's Antithesis, but Antithesis here is giving us a masterclass in control bot driving and crusher driving in particular, because this is superb from the rookies. It really, really is. We saw Petunia fall by the wayside last week, but Antithesis has taken up the mantle of best crusher for me so far this series. We're going to go to tie between these two, but it's one-way traffic for me. Antithesis in control throughout the fight. Let's see if the judges agree with me. Whatever Copperhead's game plan was in this fight, it was neutered almost immediately by Antithesis, and they have been on a real strong run of form thus far, the rookies. A great start to their campaign in LEGO Wars. The only blot on their copybook, I would say, is when the opposing robot gets stuck on the front end of Antithesis. It does struggle for pushing power a little bit just because of the geometry of the robot, but other than that, flawless driving and flawless performances so far. Strong win, I think, for Antithesis.
And the winner, by unanimous decision, is Antithesis. Copperhead is looking really lethargic in the arena, but it holds on for another point on the board. Meanwhile, we've got two grizzled veterans facing one another for the first time in Panic and Megalovania.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
Can Megalovania shake off the rust after their initial fight blunder with the forks getting stuck in underneath the chassis of the robot? Panic Attack will be certainly hoping they haven't, and Panic Attack, I think, will be quietly happy with their performance in the first fight. You know, they know they're not the cream of the crop in LEGO Wars anymore. They're certainly not just an also-ran, but they are a team which isn't at the peak of their powers, let's say, but I think they'll be happy with their performance thus far in this heat, and they'll be hoping they can continue that run of form against a dangerous opponent like Megalovania. Although if Megalovania keeps getting those forks stuck in underneath their own robot, then it's going to be a long old day for Megalovania, and it may be a very short journey in LEGO Wars Series 6 for them. They'll be hoping they can put that behind them, and Panic Attack here in complete control of the fight. They drop Megalovania down now, but can Megalovania turn the pace of the fight around? At the moment, they still have that fork stuck in underneath the chassis, look, and that's no good to them. They need something else here to get them going and get them, you know, kind of motoring through the heat. Panic Attack, thus far, you'd have to say, delighted with their progress. They've got a win under their belt already against Copperhead, and a win here to follow up against Megalovania would be very nice reading for the former champions. Megalovania still has that fork stuck in underneath the robot, and look, it can't translate when those forks get underneath, and that is a problem you get with these passive fork machines. You know, if you don't put a stopper on the forks, then you've got a real problem, but not as big of a problem as Panic Attack has got. Look at that! The lid of Panic Attack just simply torn away, and that is a disaster for the former champions. Now the innards are exposed, but happily for them, the forks of Megalovania once again getting caught in underneath the chassis, both of them now. Ironically, that has somewhat fixed the drive issues that Megalovania were having. And Megalovania back in on the attack now. Panic Attack reverses Megalovania into the arena wall. Meg gets that weapon back up to speed again. Panic Attack, for so much of this fight thus far, have been in control of the match, but they need to be careful not to get torn apart here by that huge spinning weapon in the middle of Megalovania. Panic Attack, I think, still on top, although it has shrunk their lead, certainly. Good control again from Panic Attack. Then they in underneath and get a good lift, but there goes one of the front ends of Megalovania, and now look, they've got that other fork free from in underneath the robot, and now Megalovania has a real opportunity for a late rally. Is it too little too late though? Panic Attack still in the ascendancy, I would say. They're struggling though, they're running away. Look from Megalovania now, they know they're in trouble. The buzzer and the bell may come just in time for them, but it's going to be a really interesting call for the judges. This Megalovania finishing stronger. Panic Attack, I think, on top throughout, but it's not an easy one to call. Over to the judges. The same issues for Megalovania rearing their head in this fight really hampered their effectiveness throughout the fight. That fork at the front getting stuck underneath those front wheels really did limit their potential in the fight, but as much as I say that, they did manage to get a few shots off on Panic Attack, notably that one there where the lid came flying away. Panic Attack, though, I felt was in control of the fight throughout until right at the end when Megalovania finally got free of its own predicament. Tough one for the judges.
And the winner, by split decision, is Panic Attack. We're making up for the lack of JDs in recent weeks tonight as the field remains close at half-time. It'll be the 8th seeds kicking off the action in the second half as they take on the lumbering Copperhead.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
Everyone is on 2 fights. How would you assess these two thus far? I'm going to grade Hospitaler. Let's give them a C-, given the fact that they won their second fight via knockout. Of course, they lost their first one via JD to a rookie, but they have got 4 points on the board, so it's not terrible for Hospitaller. Whereas their opponents, Copperhead, 2 points on the board, yes, but both from JD losses, and they've been far from impressive throughout this heat. I really have been disappointed with the progression that Copperhead has made between series. It has to be said, I thought this could be a really good heat for them, but yeah, not looking so good at the moment. They need to change that, and quickly. But Hospitaller here seems pretty robust by comparison to Copperhead. Hospitaller goes for the pit once and twice and maybe a third time. Doesn't go for it in the end though. Misses the pit button on that occasion. The 8 seeds. You have to say, considering there are 8 seeds, it's been a pretty lacklustre run thus far for Hospitaller, but they are still in contention, doing pretty well in this fight. Copperhead, I do fear for them. I think they are in a real world of trouble in this heat, and they are being pushed back inexorably towards the pit, are they? By Hospitaller, lifted up as well. In underneath goes Hospitaller's lifter. Can they just nudge Copperhead back towards the pit? They're trying their best. A bit of thermal cutout maybe for Hospitaller. We've seen that in the past several times. But we've also seen Copperhead down the pit, and they're down the pit once more. Hospitaller gets the win, and all 3 points in this crucial fight for them. It's not been flashy, it's not been sexy, but Hospitaller is getting the job done slowly, and it moves them on to 7 points from 3 fights, which is a decent effort for the 8 seeds. I think all things considered, they can be very happy with their performance thus far, which is the opposite of what can be said of Copperhead. They have been incredibly poor tonight, and I think we all expected a little bit better from the sophomore machine.
A strong display from Hosp takes them to the top, leaving Copperhead looking in trouble. Next up, it's the 2 yellow perils being let loose in the arena with Panic Attack and Antithesis.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
Off we go then for our 7th fight of the night. How would you grade these two thus far? I'm going to give Antithesis, I'm going to give them a B, considering the fact that they are rookies and they have got 2 fights one to their name, but no knockouts yet, which is probably the little area of improvement I would give to Antithesis. They need to kind of utilise the arena hazards maybe a bit more, maybe get that crucial grab that they need to in order to get a knockout victory. Panic Attack, I mean, they've also won 2 fights thus far, so I'm probably going to give them a B-. You know, you can't really say that they've been much worse than Antithesis, but they are, of course, former champions, so you kind of expect this from them by now. Pit burn activated there by Panic Attack. In underneath goes Panic Attack on Antithesis. Can they lift them maybe into the screws? Good control by Panic Attack, keeping Antithesis pinned by the screws. And the experience showing here. The control bot, Panic Attack levering up Antithesis. Can they hoist them into the air and maybe drag them towards the pit, I wonder? Antithesis at the moment holding on for dear life. Gets away now. Panic Attack stuck somewhere in the middle of the arena. I think they might be high centre on something, I'm not too sure. Maybe they're thermally, I don't know. Thermal cutout, is that a problem Panic Attack faces? Maybe it is now in its older age. Antithesis, much more young and sprightly. Their first Lego Wars, and thus far you'd have to say pretty impressive as well. They've been really good at kind of maximising the opportunities that they've had. Can Antithesis get a good grapple hold of Panic Attack, I wonder? Panic Attack is really struggling here for control around the arena, aren't they? They're not translating happily around the arena. Maybe need to slow down just a little bit and let the batteries and internals cool down. Antithesis, though, no such worries for them. They're coming back on the attack again, very aggressive, trying to use that crushing arm to good effect, but they're not really able to get in underneath Panic Attack anymore. Look, the wedges once again come apart for Antithesis, so that'll be something to note for later in the series. The rate things are going, they're probably going to end up with at least a play-in burst, so they will probably see Antithesis again later in the series, which is always great to see for the rookies. Panic Attack forces Antithesis towards the arena spikes. Sit still once again, Panic Attack. They are really struggling in this fight, aren't they, with the thermal cutout issues? Maybe it was a hot day. I'm recording this on a very hot day. The kind of end of June period where it was very hot, if you remember back that far. Antithesis closing down on Panic Attack. Underneath goes Panic Attack again. Can they get a final flurry as we head towards time? The judges will have been taking note of everything in this fight. It's been a pretty tough fight to call this. There's been no real big punches laying on each other. Panic Attack has really struggled with thermal cutout throughout the fight. The judges will have to take that into consideration as we go to time. any second now.
6.
And the judges will decide between Antithesis and Panic Attack. Well, you know it's not a classic when I'm talking about the weather halfway through the fight, but to be honest with you, it really was a bit of a struggle to watch. Antithesis' wedge coming off as early as it did their look made it very difficult for them to have a real impact in the fight. Panic Attack, meanwhile, were being laboured with issues with thermal cutouts, so they were kind of somewhat useless in this fight as well. So it's a real nothing fight between these two, which is a real shame, but the judges will have to make a decision between the two.
And the winner by unanimous decision is Antithesis, the Crusher. That fight wasn't the most exciting in the world, but it has left Panic Attack on the outside of the bracket spots with work to do in the seeds clash. That point for the 21st seeds, though, eliminates Copperhead going into their final fight against fellow spinner Megalovania.
Antithesis.
How were they pronounced against Scotland again? It was horrendous.
They weren't particularly horrendous. It was alternated between antithesis and antithesis.
Do you want to pass me the lap tube? Or do you want to do it, David? I'll be
Sam pronounces it antithesis?
Antithesis. Antithesis. So it's the correct way.
It's like halfway between the two.
Antithesis.
Neither of them are correct. Both of them are... I don't give a
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Summarising Megalovania's heat thus far, I'm probably going to have to give them an E. They've really struggled in this heat. 1 point to their name. Yes, they've rallied well against Panic Attack right at the end of their fight, but here against Copperhead, they've already been turned on their back. And I think that could be that. Copperhead, we've been waiting to see that weapon come into play. Finally, it has done, and Megalovania here in all kinds of trouble on their backs. And I don't think they're going to be getting down from their Copperhead. Are they going to go in for the coup de grace? They are. They're going to try and make the fight a little bit more interesting, are they? Maybe. No. On their backs completely now is Megalovania. They're being counted down and counted out. Copperhead in supreme style, a one-hit KO, essentially winning them the fight. The timer has been paused in the corner because they are making contact with their opponents. It doesn't really matter though, because, well, let's face it, Copperhead has won the fight. Megalovania beaten, up and over, counted down and out. Finally, we've seen Copperhead wake up and get a big win on their ticket. 3 points on the board. Will it be enough to reignite their heat? It's unlikely, but a win for Copperhead nonetheless. Well, despite the amazing hit here from Copperhead, it is a little bit too little too late for them. They cannot catch the teams above them, having done all of their fights already. Where was this Copperhead earlier on? It's such a shame to see, really. With that defeat as well, it does mean that Megalovania also exit our competition with 1 fight remaining against Antithesis. Better luck next year, guys.
Somehow, after a poor night of fighting, Copperhead gets the perfect one-hit KO on Megalovania, ending the Bone Mask Spinner's chances of returning to the bracket. They have 1 fight left as they stand between Antithesis and an undefeated night for the rookies.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Heat permutations for you then as we enter our penultimate fight of the night. Megalovania, as we already know, are out of the competition. The only thing they can do is play Party Pooper to Antithesis like that, and Antithesis is upside down. Can they right themselves? They have got a self-righting mechanism. Can they bring it into play? Yes, they can. Good self-righting there from Antithesis. Megalovania, we finally see the effect of that big spinning weapon, but Antithesis have got something to fight for in this heat. They can still win the heat if results go their way, but more importantly than that, if they win this fight by any means, they will qualify for the bracket and not have to go through the play-in. So it's a big opportunity here for the Rookie Machine to get a guaranteed spot in the bracket, and as well as that, if they win this fight, it means they will have gone unbeaten all night, which is a very impressive performance from the Crusher Machine. Megalovania, as I said, playing Party Pooper. They are currently on 1 point. The maximum that they can get is 4, which will leave them still behind Copperhead in second to last place. So they will be bottom no matter what tonight. So Antithesis, it is all upon your own desires and wills to get this done and over the line. Antithesis no need to get round the back like that and try and cause problems to Megalovania, but Megalovania's weapon up to speed once again here. We've seen how threatening it can be when they bring it into play. We've finally seen some effectiveness from that big flailing weapon at the front of Megalovania, but Antithesis, very nippy and nimble, gets round the back and now gets a good crush maybe on Megalovania. They're stuck against the arena sidewall. Good grab there by Antithesis. Can they drag Megalovania maybe towards the pit, release button and maybe drop them down the pit? That'll be their tactic here, surely. They're trying to wiggle their way slowly towards the pit button. They're now touching the pit button. Can they activate the pit? They're trying their best. They're grappling hold for a very long time here, Antithesis, but they're not letting go of Megalovania. They may be told to let go sooner rather than later. You can see the claw now lifting up, so they are being told to release Megalovania. I think they have actually pulled the armor panel off the top of Megalovania there, and we're going to unstick the fight. Well, that's a rarity in LEGO Wars. Don't get that very often. Oh dear. Back underway again. Megalovania and Antithesis. The momentum was certainly with Antithesis before the unstick. There is the pit activated finally by Antithesis, and they're contacting the front end of Antithesis. Is the weapon of Megalovania, but a good drive for Antithesis, and a pitting here for Megalovania will be all it wrote, and a win for Antithesis means they have qualified for the bracket. Well done to them. This huge initial impact from Megalovania was the best shot they've had all night, but Antithesis was equal to it and were able to recover quite well in this match. They were able to keep the pressure on and keep Megalovania from causing any more problems for them. This grapple here was key. They dragged them towards the pit button. Yes, we had the unstick, but in the end it was too much for Megalovania to handle. The control factor of Antithesis was too good, eventually driving them round and pitting the big spinner.
A lovely back and forth fight goes the way of the Crusher as they overtake the Seeds, meaning one of them is destined to return to the play-ins once more, so let's see which lifter can prevail in the final clash of the night.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Away we go then for our final fight of the night. Seeded number 21 and former champions Panic Attack take on seeded number 8 Hospitaler. Here are your permutations then. The winner of this fight will go into the bracket. The loser of this fight will go into the play-ins. It is that simple. If you want to care about positioning of the heat, if it's a win via knockout for Hospitaler, it means that they will win the heat. That is the only way that Antithesis doesn't win the heat tonight. Because if Hospitaler gets a win by JD, it will leave them on 9 points, and they lost to Antithesis on countback, so it will be a win for Antithesis. So they have to knock out Panic Attack to win the heat, the top seed. Both will feature again later in the series, which is good to see. Panic Attack will be hoping that they don't have to go through the play-ins this time around, the former champions. They've hit the pit release button there. They feel confident they've got the control factor advantage over Hospitaler. Hospitaler now chases them across the arena. Panic Attack gets round the back, and in come the lifting forks. They lift up Hospitaler off the arena floor. That's a good lift there from Panic Attack. Can they now drag them towards the pit? This is great control from the former champions. They're trying their very best to guide them towards the pit. They can't quite get them turned though. Not enough grip on the arena floor. They're desperately trying to turn them round. Not quite able to do so on that occasion though. Have to release Hospitaler. Hospitaler gets away. That lifter raised completely on Hospitaler though. In goes Panic Attack once again with the lifting forks kind of prizing around that front wheel of Hospitaler. Gets away now though. Hospitaler still has that lifter raised up completely. Maybe they're going to try and use it as a grabber here. They're trying to bring it down now. You can see the gears whirring inside the machine, and Panic Attack at the moment on top, I would say, after that initial grab and lift. Panic Attack, good push there into Hospitaler. Actually, do you know what? Thinking about it, if Panic Attack only wins by JD here, they don't actually get into the bracket, so that is a concern for them. So they need to knock Hospitaler out if they want to overtake them and leapfrog them in the table. Good lift again here by Panic Attack, dragging Hospitaler towards the pit. They know they need the knockout win to get into the bracket without having to go through the play-ins, and good control again here from Panic Attack. They're trying to inexorably nudge them towards the pit. Hospitaler, all 4 wheels off the floor, so they can't get away from where they are now. Panic Attack needs to do something, and quickly here. They've got them lifted off the floor. Panic Attack trying their best to get them nudged towards the pit. Now they get themselves rearranged, and they push Hospitaler towards the pit, and they get them down. The 8 seeds are beaten. Panic Attack gets the victory, and they are through to the bracket without the play-ins. Hospitaler have to go through the play-ins. The improved ground scraping forks of Panic Attack, I think, were a massive factor in this fight. They were able to get in underneath Hospitaller on almost every occasion, and some great control and some vintage control as well from the former champions Panic Attack. They were on top throughout the entire fight. Hospitaller had no real answer to Panic Attack's aggression and drive power. They just about got them turned around and pitted in the nick of time to secure a famous victory over the 8th seeds.
Panic Attack rolls back the years with a controlled display to take the second bracket spot. It's been a much more steady night of action after last week's antics, as New Boy's antithesis showed there is still a world where Linac Crushers can prevail, whilst Panic Attack consigns Hospitaller to have to make it into the bracket the long way via the play-ins. That's all from us tonight, but join us next time as we put it all on red as the dual discs of 23 Red aim to spin to win once more. For now though, I've been your host David Smeg, and we'll see you in the next one.
Okay.
Cool.
Oh
Hello.
Hello.
Copperhead, shut up. At some point, I think Copperhead decided it wanted to do its own thing.
It's self-aware now.
Oh, that might be why. The weapon and the driver on the same channel.
That will do it.
Oopsies.